So you said recently that you thought that you, as an outspoken critic, could be a target yourself. Some people think that sounds overdramatic, but I'm right there with you. I think that he is so vindictive that he will go after, however he has to, through the IRS maybe, or even through sponsors to get us off the air maybe, or you. How seriously should we be taking that?
Well, so I was asked, am I worried about me? And my answer was, I'm worried about all of us. I'm no more worried about me than I am worried about everybody in the country. I think it's bad to have somebody saying, give me as much power as you can in this country so I can use it to go after other Americans. So I can use it to go after these subhuman internal enemies and I'll destroy them. Like, that's just not a good system for anybody. And I don't think anybody's safe if that's the sort of basis on which he wants to get more power.
Well, remember when Nixon had an enemies list? That was a proud moment for a lot of people if they were on the enemies list. Maybe we need to turn it around like that.
Well, I think that if he decides that he's going to go after you or me or anybody who's well known, we have resources, we'll likely be fine. But I think there's a pattern where he picks out individual people and effectively terrorizes them.
But
there's Stormy Daniels wearing a bulletproof vest to get into
it's ridiculous.
The courthouse, right?
Once you have political violence, you have fascism following that.
So that's Donald Trump. He cannot debate Joe Biden on the merits. So he's going to be a disruptor, and the Biden team better be prepared for Donald Trump to walk. I mean, what would a disruptor do? Okay, you're going to cut off my microphone. I'm going to walk over to your microphone and I'm going to get in your face. I'm going to confront. He could do that. He could do, imagine the 10 most disruptive things that Donald Trump could do. And he's going to probably do those very.
Biden's primary campaign message is we are running to save democracy. Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. I believe that. I testified to the Department of Justice against him because I am afraid of him. I'm afraid of what he'll do to this country.
Well, it seems that the libnuts can smell what's coming. Obviously, they can see what we can see. Although they've tried to put a good face on it, we can now see them in a deep, widespread panic. And as we've seen this week with their Orwellian propaganda, calling everything about Dementia Joe a cheap fake or a deep fake, they deserve to be afraid. Dementia Joe is toast. He's burned on both sides kind of toast. But seriously, Rachel Maddow and the idiots on The View, they're worried about being canceled or Trump coming after them? Does their audience really believe that crap? Or do they have a deep fake audience at The View? With all the things that Trump has to fix when he becomes president, when he cleans up all of the messes that Dementia Joe has left for him, what makes them think that he cares about The View or Rachel Maddow? Or he's going to spend any time thinking about The View or Rachel Maddow?
This claim that Donald Trump is going to cancel The View, first of all, you're not that important. Secondly, didn't The View air between 2016 and 2020? All right. And didn't Trump people go on The View like Kellyanne Conway and Don Jr.? And they're going to sick the IRS after? We're going to sick it on them? I mean, Lois Lerner, you're so right, Shannon. That's what they did. The whole thing is like this prediction that is so bizarre that it's unfathomable. I don't know what they're talking about.
They believe that they are so important that they pose a threat to the country. It's almost like a humble brag that oh my God, they're going to come for me. No, shouldn't Trump just call them up personally and say, you'll be fine?
Just like that. You'll be fine, babe.
These people are exposing themselves as complete morons. Watch this and tell me if these people are seriously connected to reality.
And he would say things around the table like, let's imagine saying something like, I want to have this leaker found and executed. But let's imagine he's just blowing off steam. He's saying, if we could find that leaker, I'd like to take him out of the back of the White House on the South Lawn and have him shot. And let's say he wasn't being serious. Let's just say he was.
Now they're making up scenarios in which Donald Trump would want to basically execute people. This is what they're saying on broadcast national television. They expected to be treated as a serious news organization, and this crap is what they put on the air.
He was blowing off steam, right? As a matter of presidential temperament, is that the guy you want to have behind as the commander-in-chief?
So you're making up a hypothetical scenario where he's basically ordering people to be executed, and then you're asking your viewers to substantiate your opinion by making them think, is this the type of guy you want to be president. That's the type of guy that Donald Trump is. That's so detached from reality, it's insane.
Sitting in the Oval Office, a guy who, when he's frustrated, when he's blowing off steam, again to use Barr's formulation, is someone whose way in which he exercises his frustration is to casually talk about having people who work for him shot.
Wait a second here. So what they're saying is that when Donald Trump gets a little bit angry, miffed, he may say something off the cuff in a meeting. Like, that guy needs to be taken outside and shot. Have we all not made statements like that about people that we just want? Get away from me? Get away from me before I bash your head in. Oh my God, he said, get away from me before you bash your head in. He's detached, he's crazy. I've said that to my dog. Of course, I love my dog. It's things you say when you're excited and angry. Man, my wife has told me, get outside before I lose it and break something. We need to get divorced. You're showing violence towards me. This is the kind of people these people on news are. They are absolutely insane.
Executed in some way. Well, I don't know if that's by hanging or by a guillotine or by the firing squad. I think it speaks to a temperament that is the kind of temperament that leads you to a president of the United States who, when your vice president is...
Okay, listen to what he just said. He's running with this hypothetical as if it's real and telling his viewers this isn't the type of guy we want to have as president because he may, roll out the guillotine in the Oval Office, make people come in and put their heads in it and boom, lop off their heads. This is the type of guy that, as president would maybe, put together a firing squad. And what, you've pissed me off in this meeting. Step outside. We got to deal with you. Wow. That's all you can say. Wow. That's how far gone these libnuts really are.
On Capitol Hill, in the middle of a riot that you have incited, and the people at that riot are talking about lynching the vice president. Your temperament, that person, that president is the kind of person who says, I'm not going to do anything to call off the mob that I incited. I'm just going to sit up here and let it play out. And I'm going to say quietly, according to at least some of the reporting that we've seen.
And that's what they always do, according to some of the reporting we've heard. Who are these people you've heard it from? Oh, I can't tell you who my sources are. Well, how do you know they're telling the truth? Doesn't really matter. I've got a source that told me he's crazy and he wants to put people's head in a guillotine. That's all you need to know. So according to my source, Donald Trump is just off his rocker and he wants to kill people who don't agree with him in meetings. Okay.
In some Capitol Hill, some stuff from the January 6th committee was said, maybe our supporters have it right here. Maybe Mike Pence deserves this. Maybe he deserves to be killed, to be strung up on the Capitol ground.
Okay, so in this shot, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 adults. 6 adults right there on this set. And you're telling me, collectively, not one person on that set, not one person said, hey man, this is a little nutty. I don't think we should be going here talking about Donald Trump executing people, rolling out a guillotine. This is a little nuts. Nope, they all sit there and we got to make sure people understand he's dangerous.
I think, whether you don't have to get all the way to Donald Trump was ordering the execution of staffers to think that this is a very dangerous temperament and a very dangerous mindset to have, and one that shows an enormous lack of respect for the office, for the seriousness of the position, and as someone who is not in control of himself in a way that you would want a president to be.
Someone who's not in control of himself in the way that you'd want a president to be. How about it that you back a guy who can't make a sentence, who's blah, blah, blah when he talks? I'm not sure that's the type of guy we want as president, but you don't have a problem with that. Not a problem at all. And that's real. There's no deep fake there, no cheap fake. You're making up an entire scenario that has no attachment to reality, yet you're having a problem with the president who currently is blubbering his words and can't make sense when he talks to people. But you're okay with that. These people are literally insane, and the gaslighting has to stop. When I see this kind of absolute nuttery, it tells me that the internal poll numbers for Dementia Joe must be really bad. And I mean really bad.
I don't think people really appreciate how bad Biden's poll numbers are. When you look at them, it's like walking down your grandmother naked. You can't unsee them, no matter how hard you try.
And now they're telling us that we should expect some surprises at the debate.
Yeah, but I'm also told that we should expect some surprises as well, because this is such a critical performance for President Biden, not only on the content, but on his physical performance as well.
Surprise me? I'd be surprised if he stayed awake. I'd be surprised if he was coherent. Maybe they're telling us that for the next 7 days, Dementia Joe's going to be getting blood transfusions and you won't even recognize him. Maybe he's getting some kind of daily IV drip. Maybe he's getting a speaker implanted in his head so you can give him the answers to every single question that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash give him. You know, the questions that you probably already wrote and gave to Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. I don't put anything by these people. That wouldn't surprise me. And if I think about it, none of the things I just said would surprise me. I wouldn't put it past the Democrats to do all of those things to make sure that Dementia Joe can somehow get through those 2 hours during the debate. But I think I know what they're really afraid of. Victor David Hanson wrote an amazing piece on what may really be going on. And I'm going to call his piece the top 5 reasons why the libs are so afraid of Donald Trump. So right now, let's jump in and look at the post that Victor David Hanson put up. He describes it as the anatomy of a full left-wing meltdown. The media is afire with warnings of the impending Trump dictatorship. Celebrities, the squad, and Biden administration grandees vie to conjure up the most nightmarish things that Trump might do to them. And here's what drives the current mounting hysteria.
Number 1.
The left feels it may be heading to a historic 1972 McGovern-like or 1980 Carter-esque blowout, and it's terrified at this late date that it can't do anything either about the escalating dementia of Joe Biden or the terror instilled by the specter of either a president or continued Vice President Kamala Harris. I agree with that.
Number 2.
The libnuts know that a first-term novice Trump had a successful 4 years, and that now he's even savvier 4 years later, and far more likely and able to overturn the entire 4-year Dementia Joe catastrophe and thus enjoy an even more successful second term.
Number 3.
I love this one. It fears that all it did to destroy democracy, what Dementia Joe and his cohorts have done, the Russian collusion hoax, the Russian disinformation laptop farce, the first 2 term impeachments, the moment the Republicans lost the House, the Senate trial of ex-President Trump as a private citizen, the effort to remove Trump from state ballots, and the 5 criminal and civil show trials designed to bankrupt the leading presidential candidate and keep him off the campaign trail might indeed boomerang on the left. I think we're seeing that right now. He continues, so it is in full panic that its unconstitutional efforts to destroy Trump will obviously be used against itself, given it knows that if it returned to power, it would go after its enemies in precisely the same any means necessary ways that it had sought to destroy Trump. That is to say, that they have destroyed all political norms and have established dangerous new precedents that they just assume must rebound against themselves.
Number 4.
The left is terrified that the growing voter repugnance now extends even to traditional Democratic constituencies. Latinos, blacks, Asians, Jews, the young, and even the college educated. And the left privately grasps that these defections are fueled not just by the obnoxiousness and dementia of Joe Biden, but due to his far left agendas that left us with abhorrent inflation, wild, unsustainable federal deficits, a lethal open border, 10 million unaudited and often dangerous newcomers, I have to say that here, foreign policy catastrophes, woke racial and tribal disunity, spiraling urban crime, this guy's really put something together here, and cultural extremism. Leftists accept that while in secret they blame the cognitively challenged Joe for their dilemmas, deep down they know, and this is a Shakespearean reference here, the fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. You did it to yourself. That is, in their own failed revolution that has utterly repulsed Americans and nearly destroyed the country. Well said, Victor.
Number 5.
In the next 5 months, the left and the Democrats, I think they're one and the same, know that they must pander to try and save themselves. But the more Dementia Joe panders, the more obvious, repugnant, and counterproductive the pandering becomes. The public is growing sick of Dementia Joe's 11th hour groveling to save himself from his self-created oblivion. What great words this guy's put together. And the more in his last days as president he drains even more of the strategic petroleum reserve, the more he cancels student loan debt, the more he abandons Israel to win a few thousand votes in Michigan, the more he pressures the Fed to lower interest rates, the more he flips on tariffs, and the more he grants blanket amnesties to newcomers, all the more the country at large becomes disgusted at the low effort to temporarily appease particular voting blocs at the expense of the general interest of the country. Wow. He absolutely nailed it. Everything he said was absolutely correct. But he's got one more bonus. Number 6 here is another bonus point that he put in this article.
Number 6.
As we watch the left go through proverbial cycles of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, in quotation marks, it will increasingly deny the accuracy of supposedly inaccurate swing state polls. Then angrily damn the supposedly clueless, deplorable electorate, us, then turn to all sorts of dreams of remedies like changing or violating more voting laws being the most prominent of these schemes. Then get sullen about the entire American project, democracy, and only finally accept the inevitability of what likely lies ahead. I'm gonna have to salute VDH for that one. That was simply amazing. In case you didn't recognize what Victor David Hanson was outlining there, he was telling you the 5 stages of grief. None of us has a crystal ball, but it doesn't take a crystal ball to look at Dementia Joe and realize they should be grieving. The White House is fighting a losing battle. Their Orwellian propaganda, it's not gonna work. You can't make us unsee what we've seen. You can't make us unhear what we've heard. In fact, I believe the more you try to suppress the videos and suppress what Joe is doing, the more people are gonna wanna see it and see it for themselves. I think they call that the Streisand effect. Go look that up. That's exactly what's happening at this point. You have made it such a big deal about trying to suppress these videos, people are looking at them even more. They're spreading them even more. It's dooming your candidate. And it's not just us here in America. Dementia Joe is becoming a laughingstock around the world.
Now, look, let's turn to Joe Biden, who was out making a speech today where he made some very clear and concise comments.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way.
No, look, I didn't get that. What was it?
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way.
Evelyn, can you shed any light on what he said there? Any idea?
Look, I can't speak dementia. I'm so sorry. But, I can't imagine the concoction of drugs that the Democrats are going to have to give that man for him to stand a chance against Trump in a week for the presidential debate. I think we're all going to rub a neck just to see the train wreck that's coming before us and the endless meme opportunities.
Well, it wouldn't be a late debate, would it, if we didn't show you President Biden's latest episode of literally short-circuiting in the middle of a speech.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way.
Now, if this was anybody else, you would just be like, get that guy some medical attention. But we know every time he opens his mouth, we are in fact witnessing the Manhattan Project of pharmaceutical stimulants as it is. And just remember, here's his press secretary just yesterday explaining to us that none of these glitches that you see are real. They're all deep fakes.
It tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos.
Yeah, they're totally manipulated. I mean, there's countless examples, but they're all manipulated.
Maybe, hopefully, God willing, the Libnuts are indeed experiencing the 5 stages of grief. You know, the same thing most of America has had to endure for the last 3 years. Hey, listen, the big debate between Dementia Joe and Trump is scheduled for June 27th, if it happens. And I'll be broadcasting it live, and I want you to join me. If you've watched any of my live broadcasts, you know we have a ton of fun. 300,000 people tuned in to see my live broadcast of the Las Vegas rally, and I gave away a fabulous trip. So be sure to join me for the big debate. It will be undoubtedly a lot of fun, and who knows, you might win something. Just click here to register to be notified as soon as I go live. Thanks, and talk to you soon. Hope to see you at the debate.